Hi, everyone. Good morning to the US and good afternoon to everyone in Europe. I'm Marc. I'm the founder of StarMind. We're based in Zurich and New York, but I'm currently in Zurich, so it's already afternoon for me. I would like to start with a question. A question to all of you, and maybe you can think about a certain number in your heads when it comes to a question: how well does your company know its tangible assets? And tangible assets are all the machines, the laptops, the equipment, everything you have in terms of tools, everything you can actually touch. If we ask that question to our customers, we get a number close to 100%. So companies are used to have quite a good inventory about every single laptop, how much RAM it contains, how much CPU it contains, how many mice or keyboards you have left over, and so on. But if I ask you the same question about the intangible assets, probably that number is not the same one. So again, try to define a number in your head when it comes to all the intellectual property that you have, the brain capital, the skills, the expertise of your employees. How high would that number be? When we ask our clients or clients that haven't used StarMind before, the number is normally around 10%. So if you look back, go back in history, in 1955, for example, that was quite okay to not know a lot about the intangible assets you have in your company. As long as you understand what machinery you have, what tangible assets you have, you already know 80% of what assets you actually have in your company. But things have changed. The world has changed. And today, it's just not enough to know just about the tangible assets of your company anymore. Today, on average, 84% of all your assets in your company are intangible. And it does not really matter how much RAM your laptop or the laptop of your employees actually has. It doesn't matter how much CPU it has, but it does matter to know who knows what, who has what kind of skills, who has what kind of experience within your company, but because that's your main asset. The problem is most companies still try to capture what's inside the brains of the employees by using the same methodology as you have been using for the tangible assets. So using surveys, using some static form of a finite list of skills where you choose a binary yes or no relation, whether someone does have a skill or not. Or if you're a little bit more sophisticated, you even say a beginner or intermediate skill or expert skill. But that's not really the way knowledge works. That's not really the way skills work. It's much more dynamic. The underlying problem is actually that a lot of our potential customers believe that there is no data within the company to work with. There is no repository that you can take that information from, that people just curate a profile very superficially. You don't really understand who knows what within the company. And we often hear things like, LinkedIn knows more about our employees than we do. But can that really be the case? That a company from the outside with self-curated profiles of people who actually curate that profile to get the next job know more about the people working 24/7 within your company? We don't think so. The problem is the data that you have is spread across all different kinds of systems. It's hidden behind calendar entries, documents, it's hidden behind HR systems, and it's not very easy to understand who knows what within the company by just looking at the data. It's somewhere behind what's obvious. And that's our mission at StarMind. The purpose of StarMind is really to uncover human capabilities through AI for the benefit of employees and organizations. And if you think about what's actually already there, you see some of the logos on the left side, like SharePoint, like Microsoft Teams, like Taleo or Confluence. Probably most of you use some of these tools as well. But to really make sense out of what's in these tools already written is not that easy. And StarMind has worked for more than 10 years now on really understanding the language spoken within the company to really create meaningful profiles, expert profiles, skill profiles for every employee. It might sound a little bit strange to talk about language when it comes to skills, but we found out that the language spoken within a company is very unique. So you use all these abbreviations, you use slang, internal product names, project names, and so on. And to not first understand how these topics all relate to each other is a big mistake. So if you just try to work with an ontology that's actually working for every single company out there, that's just not enough. You really first have to understand how topics are interrelated to each other within your company. And the way we do that is actually quite simple. And we were inspired by neuroscience 10 years ago, because there is an old saying, what fires together wires together. So the topics or the brain cells that are active at the same time, they start to connect to each other. They start to, the relation between them grows. And the topics or the brain cells that are active at different times, they go away from each other. So that's how it's believed how clusters are built within our brain. And at StarMind, we do the very same thing with topics. So whenever two topics occur together in a document, in a search query, in a question, in an answer, anything that brings them together, we let the relation between those topics grow. And whenever the topics occur separately, we let it shrink again. And you can imagine that after just a few minutes, we can already create quite a big map of topics, all interrelated to each other, and constantly adapting to new signals that we learn from all the different systems that we are integrated in. And based on that, we start learning about who knows what within the company. So for example, if someone has a meeting about a certain topic with someone else, we can draw the conclusion that this person is in touch with that topic and the topic cluster around it. When someone writes a document, when someone writes something in a public channel on Slack or on Teams, everything leaves traces within the system. And based on that, we can create a quite sophisticated knowledge profile, skill profile, that constantly learns and again unlearns what someone actually does in their daily job. Based on that, we create accurate company skills and ontologies that you can use for all different kinds of use cases. So the benefit for the employee is quite obvious. So you get faster, you get found much quicker, you get to your experts, people you don't know within your company way faster. And in the end, the productivity of the company raises very quickly. On the other hand, for the company and for most of you in this speech, it's very important to start to manage your most important asset. That's your employees, that's your people. And it's not good enough to have a very superficial view on what your employees actually know, what your employees actually have in terms of skills. Starmind is used in many large organizations all around the world, and the value for large organizations with a lot of employees gets bigger with every single employee you actually have. So we have, for example, an Accenture as a customer with more than 400,000 employees. And if you think about how many skills there are out there just in one single company, how much knowledge is there, and how little a single employee can actually find in terms of colleagues who have skills that are relevant for himself, herself, that's just huge. So your employees, they actually believe that your company could benefit much more from accessing their expertise in a broader way than just in the specific role that they are in. And we believe your business needs it, because in the end, you have almost 30% of the time people use every day is been used for searching information that is already out there, but people just don't find it. And instead of letting people search for the whole day, it's way better to connect people with the right expert in your company that can actually help you point to the right document or to the right information instantly. We are currently in a world that changes very rapidly with social distancing, with remote work, with people not in the same room anymore. It's very hard for everyone to build spontaneous interactions, to build interactions with people you wouldn't work naturally with in your team. And by not having a technology in place that enables these spontaneous interactions, by not having a technology in place that actually connects people based on their skill and knowledge, that problem gets bigger and bigger every day. So we believe at the moment the world is changing in a way that you have to make sure that you really understand and manage your most valuable asset in a way that it helps every single employee to get connected quickly to the right person within your company. 15 years ago, 27% of all employees feared, or not 15 years ago, sorry, before Corona, 72% of all employees feared the reaction of their employer if they asked for remote or flexible work. Nowadays, 78% of people who rarely did home office before time believe that they will continue to do so significantly more often after that period. We believe that this is going to happen within the course of 15 years, but we are now fast forwarded in the future. And the future means we have to adapt and adopt technologies that actually enable and help us to do the job better and quicker and in a more natural way than before. So what do our clients actually say about Starmind? Accenture says, for example, we are more productive and innovative by using Starmind. And Accenture has also done quite a large study at Swisscom, one of our very first clients that we have for 7 years now, where they said employees were struggling to collaborate across silo teams and distributed knowledge. And now with Starmind, Swisscom workers can pose questions via the AI-powered solution from Starmind that identifies the relevant expert and automatically shares the inquiry. And that's actually what we do. Whenever someone has a question, whenever someone has a problem, you can just type the question into StarMind. We automatically analyze what it's all about, and we find the right person to answer that question within a few minutes. We do that at scale, so 95% of all questions are being answered within a few minutes, and just the 5% that we cannot answer are used to understand where the blind spots of a company are, where we can actually help with upskilling, reskilling, and making people better in terms of skills they don't already have. And that's what we do at StarMind. With that, I believe we do have some time left for question and answers. Thank you very much.
So, Mark, before we ask the delegates to ask questions, I actually prepared some questions for you. So, yeah, for the question that I have for you, the number one question I would like to ask is, what experiences have you had in how companies have used skill profiles, and where can this add value?
I didn't hear the last sentence acoustically. Could you repeat it?
Sure, sure, no problem. So my question is, what experiences have you had in how companies have used skill profiles, and where can this add value?
Okay. So the main use case we use at StarMind is actually really to share knowledge across departments, across different teams. And the main use case for many companies to start with is an employee has a question, doesn't know whom to ask, just types the question into StarMind. StarMind automatically finds out who is the right expert to talk to, connects these two people, creates a meaningful connection, and out of that, we again learn more about all the two people involved. But on the other side, what some of our customers really like about StarMind is they can staff projects with StarMind, so they can say, I need for a client project or an internal project, I need the best experts in terms of X, Y, Z. And StarMind figures out who's the right person to take on the project into the project at the very moment in time, or who are the three best people to take into that project. And more recently, in some of our clients have started to staff jobs internally based on StarMind technology. So to understand who has the right skills for a new role within the company, and then they use StarMind technology to filter people really based on the skills they have and they have proven to have.
Okay, so noted and done, Mark. Because I actually have one last question for you. So my second question for you is, what are the risks if we don't use a database approach to personal planning?
I just heard what are the risks, and then it was broken again.
Okay, sure, no worries. I'm gonna repeat it. So my question is, what are the risks if we don't use a database approach to personal planning?
So I believe if learning, continuous learning, and so on, that's the key to get better over time for the whole company. But if you don't have a technology in place that constantly learns who has what kind of skills, who has what kind of expertise, you cannot really measure the success of any learning application that you're using. You cannot really measure the impact of the learning tools you're actually using to upskill and reskill your people. So I think to have a technology in place that really understand who has what kind of skills and can measure how these skills change over time is key to understand whether you're putting the right measures in place to upskill and reskill your employees.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Mark. So for the participants, please feel free to ask questions. Yeah. Mark is waiting for the question.
Mark, hi. It's Jim Kennedy from Shinogi here. Could you provide a little bit more information, please, about how you collate these skill sets, expertise? How is that pulled together?
Sure. So on the one hand, we do use an ontology that we have created over the course of the last 10 years with hundreds of different customers, that an ontology based on skills and jobs that we see where we see a big overlap in terms of all different kind of industries that we have. But on top of that, and that's the individual part I was talking about at the beginning, we really constantly learn what new topics appear, what new topics we see within conversation, within HR systems, when it comes to job descriptions, the requirements you have to get in a certain role. When we look at CVs, when we look into calendar entries and so on. The principle that we use to learn about people is really we'll only look at data that is available to the rest of the organization as well. So for example, in terms of calendar entries, we only look at calendar entries that are set to open or to public in terms of permissions to everyone else. Everyone else could draw the same conclusion about you and me meeting, discussing a certain topic. Then Starman looks at it as well. We have 250 connectors in place, and a customer can actually select which connectors make most sense in their case to learn about the knowledge and skills of their people. And one very important methodology that we use and that we have also created a patent for is how we constantly also forget about things we have learned again. So in neuroscience, there is a concept called retrieval-induced forgetting. So whenever you learn something on the one hand, you also have to forget something on the other hand. And that's how the brain actually works. And we as human beings are very good at it. So if you listen to a conversation for half an hour, you don't learn and store every single word, but you take out the most important parts for you to work with. And a computer is traditionally very bad at this task. So every single word has the same relevance. And what we do is whenever we learn something about a skill of a person, we also do unlearn a little bit about what we have learned before about that person. And when we learn something about the skill, we also unlearn something we have learned about the skill before. So you can imagine with every new input, the system adapts a little bit. And that makes it possible in the end to really understand who is the expert at the very moment in time, and not just aggregate all the data you have in your company, and everyone who has been with the company for 10 years is an expert in any topic, and everyone who has just joined doesn't appear on any single list. That's one of the important concepts that we have put into place when in the Starman technology.
Okay, so in effect, using StarMind, there is an opportunity really to check the accuracy or the substance of things like job descriptions, because my guess is, Mark, that if the quality of the information in a job description actually isn't very good in the first place, then it puts other things at risk, right? So
absolutely, and it's very important to understand that we are not looking at one single data point, because
exactly,
the noise
you're also looking at the networking within the organization, right?
Exactly, and the patterns we see there are much more important than one single data point. But it's a good start to look at the job description, even if it's not that accurate. But you can specify even much more over the course of a few days when you understand what topics, get in touch with the person on other levels, other channels within other applications of the company.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so do we have any other questions from the participants? We still have a few minutes before this ends.
Mark, it's me again. Sorry, I have another question, if I may, Kathy, if it's all right. What kind of response do you get from clients when they realize that they've got expertise deep in some areas and very shallow in others, but such that it actually causes some imbalance or creates some potential risk to the organization, what it purports to stand for and to provide to its clients? Has that surfaced at all?
Actually, that's not a huge topic for our clients at the moment. What we see is that a lot of customers understand that the knowledge is spread across many different departments that they have not even thought of when it comes to certain topics. One of the statistics that we often show to our customers is how many of the questions being asked are in the end answered at a different location, and on average that's 75% of all the questions are being answered at a different location, somewhere where they didn't believe that this knowledge actually exists. And that also helps companies really understand how diverse the landscape of knowledge actually is, and how limited the view is if you only look at the role itself and what's described in the job description itself. So there is much more when it comes to skills and expertise of your employees than just what they do within the specific boundaries of their role at your company.
Okay, so that seems to me to work within the realm of what's already known, but for a lot of organizations, it's also thinking about how they develop capabilities for future, whether it's services or products or whatever. So what do you see in the realms of innovation?
So,
yeah.
Yes. So to understand what skills you actually need in the future, you first have to understand what skills you already have. So we can do that part. So we can deliver a skill analysis at scale for the whole company, like a screenshot of what's already there right now. And then if you invest into reskilling and upskilling people into certain direction, we can after that check if it has changed, if the skills have changed, and we can do that part. But in between, like the upskilling and reskilling, that's not the part that Starmind actually does. We are really looking into the skills and expertise of the employees that are already there, or if you look into the future, when we do the same as the analysis again in the future, we can do a comparison to that. But in terms of innovation, one really important aspect of innovation is that you bring together people that don't work together on a daily basis. And especially now during or because of Corona and with remote work and the new reality, such spontaneous interactions don't really happen anymore. So you don't really stumble upon someone just at the coffee machine and start talking about an interesting project. You have to build that connection manually. And based on Starmind technology, if you have a topic you're interested in, you can always contact someone you haven't known before just based on their skills and expertise, and that helps such spontaneous interactions and innovation in the end a lot.